Since the dawn of humanity, individuals have been driven to seek meaning, purpose, and comprehension of the world surrounding them. In ancient times, our ancestors struggled to grasp the immutable forces of mortality, fertility, and seasonal changes. Shamans emerged as guides, developing spiritual traditions to provide direction. Engaging in rituals together fortified bonds within their communities, vital for survival in an unpredictable environment. Shared religious belief offered a framework for finding order and significance amidst the chaos. They fulfilled inherent psychological needs for spiritual fulfillment, hope, and social cohesion through collective customs. Thus, religious worship played a crucial role in prehistoric life, establishing purpose and solidifying group identity amidst uncertainty. This significance would endure throughout the ages. In modern times, societal shifts have weakened the prominence of traditional spirituality. Secularization gained momentum as industrialization dispersed populations from close-knit villages into scattered nuclear family structures within urban landscapes. Ideologies such as rationalism, empiricism, and humanism rose to prominence alongside increasing education and comfort. As collective purpose waned, individuals began to feel increasingly atomized, with less rigid societal roles dictating their identities. Community bonds liquefied, and existential inquiries lacked clear-cut answers. Meanwhile, post-war economic growth amplified desires for individualism, hedonism, and materialism. The younger generations in particular prioritized independence from these stifling conventions. In modern times, societal changes have weakened the dominance of traditional spirituality. Modern rationalistic leanings have drawn people towards secular alternatives like scientific naturalism. This cultural shift has created a void where centuries of spiritual tradition and fellowship once thrived. Nevertheless, the innate human desire for meaning, purpose, and belonging continued to persist. In the absence of traditional avenues, individuals have sought other sources of ritual, symbolism, and community. One prominent alternative is found in the realm of political ideology and partisanship. Political schools of thought and party doctrines have developed their own rigid orthodoxies, becoming contemporary channels for individuals to manifest their inherent spiritual energy. These alternatives are not solely confined to the political sphere. The rise of popular culture throughout the latter half of the 20th century has also come to fill this void, giving birth to passionate fan communities known as fandoms. While casual fans engage in leisure diversions, the most dedicated enthusiasts treat beloved properties, franchises, and their narrative canons with a reverence akin to sacred doctrines. The introduction of the internet only exacerbated this further. Particularly online, these ardent fans derive a profound sense of purpose, identity, and belonging through shared special interests. This phenomenon has emerged as a new form of substitute religion, fulfilling the needs that were originally met through traditional spirituality. However, it's important to note that the level of investment in these cultural phenomena varies significantly, ranging from a mere intellectual appreciation to the complete formation of one's persona around them. The Walt Disney brand emerged as an undeniably powerful cultural force globally throughout the 20th century. While originally aimed at children, it has garnered immense affection from adults as well, thanks to its nostalgic appeal and imaginative storytelling. Over the years, passionate fans have formed close-knit communities, joining together to celebrate beloved classics. In recent times, the phenomenon of quote-unquote Disney adults has become increasingly prominent, particularly among American millennials. For some, their appreciation remains lighthearted and supplementary. However, the most fervent among them exhibit a level of devotion that resembles religious fundamentalism. They seem to interpret Disney's idealized fantasy worlds quite literally, perceiving them as almost doctrinal dogmas that are capable of bringing profound joy and self-actualization. Parallels between Disney fandom and religious worship are evident in the behaviors of these so-called Disney adults. Annual trips to theme parks mirror spiritual pilgrimages to sacred lands. Within the parks, moments of overwhelming emotion, such as crying or extreme elation upon encountering beloved characters, can appear to resemble genuine mystical experiences. The online expression of unyielding admiration mirrors the evangelism associated with sacred theologies. Vast collections of memorabilia, Disney-themed home aesthetics, excessive consumption of merchandise, and prioritizing vacations to the parks over practical concerns all carry implications reminiscent of tithes. Furthermore, any criticism of Disney is fiercely defended, resembling the protection of infallible divine beliefs. Disney itself assumes essential significance in the lives of these fans, filling voids where traditional faith once resided, providing meaning, ethics, and social fulfillment. While many casual adults also express enthusiastic appreciation, this particular subset of dedicated adult fans takes entertainment to a quasi-religious level of devotion, addressing deeper human motives, traditionally fulfilled through spirituality rather than corporate culture alone. It's important to note, however, that not all dedicated adult Disney fans exhibit this extreme behavior or prioritize fantasy over reality. However, sociological curiosity remains for those who do. While fandom itself is not inherently problematic, there are potential dangers when intense fandom becomes a substitute for religious belief. While communal appreciation and shared interests can offer benefits, there is a risk of hyperfixating one's identity and purpose around commercialized fantasy, which can lead to genuine harm. On a personal level, an inability to distinguish between imaginative worlds and reality can hinder personal growth, as individuals may choose escapism over confronting life's challenges. Independent thinking and agency may diminish as blind devotion to a company's ideological dogmas replaces critical thinking. Financial dependence on constant trips and excessive merchandise consumption may prioritize company profits over individual well-being. Socially, insular and obsessive communities that isolate themselves within echo chambers are susceptible to toxic groupthink and the vilification of outsiders and critics. Dissent becomes incompatible with unwavering faith in sacrosanct narratives. Over time, extremism and entitlement may emerge without thoughtful evaluation of the societal impact. Culturally nuanced appreciation diminishes as the perception grows that all fandom involves obsessive worship. This narrowing of perspectives affects common interests, and hype can spiral out of proportion, distorting a brand's public image despite commercial intentions. From a corporate standpoint, intensely devoted hyper-consumers remain a lucrative demographic. However, companies run the risk of being tied to fervent movements beyond their control, which can damage their reputation through the excesses of zealotry. Dependence on maintaining unwavering devotion also jeopardizes flexibility to adapt and broaden their appeal over time as original visions evolve. Overall, moderation and balance are healthier approaches that foster personal growth, social connections, and cultural vibrancy, while still allowing for wonder and shared experiences. Unrestrained zeal risks causing more harm than it relieves for individuals and society when it replaces traditional faith. While it is true that intense fandom can bring both positive and negative dynamics, it is important to acknowledge the social benefits that community can offer. For these Disney adults, finding solidarity and connecting with like-minded fans online and in person seems to fulfill some of these fundamental needs. The shared interests and obsessions create an instant sense of intimacy, which is particularly valuable in a world that can often feel isolating. Virtual groups allow access from anywhere, providing feelings of comfort and validation. Planning pilgrimages together deepens the meaningful experiences and endless discussions about Disney foster bonds through collaborative joy. This sense of belonging is especially valuable for those who may lack it elsewhere. The internet has exponentially expanded communities by connecting individuals globally, easing social anxiety by allowing anonymous exploration of shared passions. However, it's important to note that insularity within online enclaves can also enable extreme attitudes to proliferate unchecked. Within these echo chambers, dissent becomes incompatible with the fundamentalist orthodoxy that develops. The sacred imaginary worlds and dogmas distort reality, preventing true self-reflection and replacing thoughtful discussion with zealotry and defensiveness. This can lead to a normalization of entitlement and obsessive consumption without the wisdom of moderation. Offline, such intensified devotion may lead to ridicule, social dysfunction, and relationship issues, as it can appear as though one's entire personality is defined by their fandom. Additionally, if community becomes the primary defining factor of one's experience, it raises questions about individualism, diversity of interests, and independent critical thought. Therefore, a balanced approach would be necessary to maintain the rewards of community while avoiding the negative aspects. Healthy fandom should uplift through supplementary wonder, enriching conversations, and organizing real-world meetups that encourage diversity of thought. However, fanaticism that cultivates extremism, isolationism, and stunted identity development risks losing touch with the complexities of reality. Thus, Moderation protects individuals and fosters understanding between enthusiasts. Unfortunately, it seems that some of these Disney adults, like many other fanatics, may lack the capacity to practice moderation and to compartmentalize their obsession. This can lead to their obsession beginning to seep into every aspect of their waking lives, which inevitably results in negative consequences. In addition to this inability to compartmentalize, there are a certain number of identifiable common traits that typify the most intensely devoted Disney adults. Number 1. They are primarily American millennials, usually in their late 20s through early 40s. Number 2. Many are childless, ironically, despite Disney's target demographics. Number 3. Their strict devotion to Disney is loudly proclaimed through constant discussions about the company online, especially on personal social media dominated by Disney imagery. Number 4. Disney aesthetics pervade their homes, from decorated walls to daily attire often flaunting merchandise. Number 5. Their unashamedly vast merchandise collections stretch their budgets, with constant acquisition prioritized over practical expenses. Number 6. They embark on multiple theme park vacations yearly, despite high ticket costs, which often also disrupts work-life balance. Often they choose to stick to the familiarity and the consumerist experience of Disney vacations instead of seeking out new experiences. Some of the most fanatic among them might even go so far as to hold Disney-centric weddings. Number 7. Their obsession permeates cognitive functions to a detriment, preventing them from being able to converse or find joy separately from Disney works. Number 8. They might aspire to live in Disney-owned housing developments, which demonstrates a willingness to warp major life choices around the fandom. Number 9. Many seek unstable, low-wage park jobs which eschew sensible career prospects, upending their entire lives just to live near Disney parks, sometimes even on the property, based on mere emotional attachment. Number 10. They provide uncritical acclaim for Disney outputs, attacking any criticism, especially online, as if it were blasphemy. Number 11. They defend the Disney company irrationally and see it as infallible, echoing religious fundamentalist mindsets. Unsurprisingly, such intensely single-minded devotion attracts mockery even from other devoted Disney followers concerned by extremes. But for these superfans, Disney provides sacred meanings, purpose, and fulfillment, replacing what faith once offered. When visiting their hallowed parks, euphoric or emotional episodes upon encountering beloved characters resemble spiritual encounters. However, overt public displays attract ridicule often, and people often view them as immature compared to faith's private reverence. Seeing iconic structures provoke tears which cause gawkers to condemn such childless behavior in adults. Sometimes, however, intensely devoted Disney adults face social consequences that almost come to parody religious persecution. An example of such an incident occurred at Disney World in Orlando, Florida on May 3, 2022, when a 27-year-old TikToker broke into tears after hugging Goofy for the first time since her father's death. Not understanding the context for this emotional outburst, many who saw the video ultimately sought to ridicule her for her reaction, which ultimately led to alleged harassment. However, it's understandable that some might have had this reaction to seeing her do this on video, as this kind of behavior is very common among Disney adults, even those who do not have some kind of emotional excuse to do so. Critics of Disney adults perceive a lack of maturity on their part, whether from their recognition of the substitution of religion with corporate fantasy, or simply due to these exhibited behaviors and others like them. However, there are some possible psychological explanations for such behaviors among those who become Disney adults. Some of these might include developmental delays, difficulty at processing trauma, mere nostalgia, or simply strong obsessive personalities. However, filling these existential voids through nostalgic wonder risks lacking substance for the difficulties of reality. As with all fundamentalism, extremes breed entitlement, toxicity, and isolation. The most extreme behaviors typically observed among Disney adults, most typically at Disney parks, have provoked countless backlash. Such behaviors among these Disney extremists include Number 1, hogging attention through dramatic displays instead of prioritizing the experience of children. Number 2, entitled demands for parks to cater primarily to their interests over those of general audiences. Number 3, elevating characters to idol status, resembling religious veneration and offending dissidents. Number 4, the willingness to spend disproportional incomes, appearing privileged and tone-deaf amid rising financial barriers, especially in an age of high inflation, which has caused once affordable ticket costs to skyrocket. However, the strongest and most common criticism that many people have of Disney adults are aimed at those millennial park goers who go there without children and often do not even have children at all. Oftentimes, these critics are parents who have taken their children to the parks and had negative experiences involving these childless millennials. Popular complaints regard the rowdiness that these Disney adults engage in, such as during film screenings, people reciting entire lines of the films that they have memorized, or singing along to songs in the park shows. One viral online complaint discussed an instance in which a 30-something-year-old park guest, again without children, went and recited literally every single pre-ride spiel right alongside the Disney cast members or pre-recorded park voiceovers. Many of these childless parkgoers have been to Disney World or Disneyland or the park in question many times in their life and will likely go many times again in the future, whereas for most families it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and that single experience is ultimately ruined by the aforementioned rowdy behavior, among other examples. In one Twitter rant that went viral, a mother discussed an incident in which her 3-year-old son ended up throwing a tantrum after she refused to wait in a long line to buy him a Mickey Mouse pretzel. What triggered the reaction was when she saw a young woman walk by holding the very same pretzel that her son wanted her to buy for him. In her rant, she said, "Disney World is a family amusement park, yet these immature millennials throw away their money on useless crap. They have no idea the joy and happiness it is to mothers who buy their babies treats and toys," among other comments. In yet another rant that went viral, a mother was discussing the amount of time that she had to wait in line with her child in order to take a picture with one of the princesses. However, nearly half of the queue comprised of childless millennial couples who looked far too excited for their age. She went on, "If you're one of the people standing in the line to get your picture taken with another adult who's wearing a costume, and you're taking up that space that other people who have young children or who have people with them that believe these characters are actually real, you're wasting time. You are a full-grown adult, knowing that you are essentially taking pictures with a mall Santa Claus. Get a life and go find something else to do with your time and your money." As a result of the negative experiences that parkgoers have had due to the behaviors of these Disney adults, some have even gone so far as to call that Disney banned childless adults from attending its parks. These criticisms, and so many more like them, have led to these Disney adults retaliating, justifying their actions, and their right to have at least one day where they can act like a child. Much like religious devotees citing scripture, many Disney adults have been known to justify their actions on a quote that is attributed to Walt Disney, in which he said, "You're dead if you aim only for kids. Adults are only grown up anyway." However, when they invoke this quote, this gospel, Disney adults are either ignoring or are ignorant to the context behind it. What Walt Disney was referring to various other activities that were designed for adults in his parks to serve as alternatives alongside those which were originally designed just for children, in addition to the fact that those activities designed explicitly for children could also be enjoyed by adults as well, in addition to the alternative activities designed for them specifically. However, these Disney adults continue to double down and try to justify their actions very frequently by invoking the overall ethos of the Disney company itself, as if it were some kind of religious precedent. While appreciating fantasy, substituting corporate fiction invites problems. Defensiveness towards any criticism mirrors religious defensiveness, deteriorating thoughtful evaluation needed in order to live well-balanced lives. Moderation benefits individuals and society by avoiding unintended consequences from obsessive enthralldom. Religion, when practiced accordingly, can be a force of liberation, but one can only be liberated if they are truly comfortable and confident in their faith and their convictions. Defensiveness, however, is actually indicative of a lack of confidence and a high insecurity in that belief. While it would be mistaken to view things such as politics and commercial franchises, the the two most common surrogates for religion in our day and age, as capable substitutes for spiritual belief, which many subconsciously do, this same logic can just as easily be applied to other non-religious pursuits as well, such as hobbies and media interests. While secularization has emptied spiritual voids, consumerism has imperfectly substituted religion's deeper functions. Uncritically worshipping corporations and engaging in rites of materialism fail to meet humanity's intrinsic desire for purpose, higher meaning, ritual, and community in a responsible way. Blind devotion is dangerous, whether towards religious or corporate dogmas. However, religion traditionally addressed existential complexities through wisdom, ethics, and moderation, which are lacking in commercial factions. Dismissing spirituality outright overlooks humanity's natural inclination. Balance and personal growth benefit all factions through self-awareness, critical evaluation, and sharing enriching dialogue. Dismissing alternate viewpoints and criticisms, as Disney adults often do, or promoting extremes, undermines common understanding. Moderation and critical thinking and a willingness to appreciate while critiquing ideologies constructively. Ultimately, in the end, both moderation and critical thinking are constructive and are key to uniting a fragmented, atomized world. Walt Disney himself would most likely disapprove of radicalizing consumption into cultism, as it coarsens values oriented towards innocent entertainment. Walt Disney, for example, was a staunch Calvinist, and traditional Christianity inspired him innovatively, while curbing excesses by emphasizing ethics, morality, patriotism, and modest family enjoyment. He was, in many ways, the ultimate expression of the Protestant work ethic. Surely such a man would be appalled to see the fruits of his labor being treated as an idolatrous substitute for the very same faith that drove him to achieve his own life's vision. Spirituality, community, and wonder supplement life's journey, but uncritically worshipping untouchable factions risks losing sight of humanity's shared progress. Therefore, it is thoughtful balance, meeting intrinsic needs through constructive means, is what uplifts individuals and ties groups together through shared higher purpose.